are not bad at that. I think they have a good view of dwarven paladins down there. A good image.
As a matter of fact, they do.
And then,
Sure.
yeah, let's say warships and mages can help the other warships to secure the trading lanes to Cape Thunder, while the paladins can go down and help secure the southern border there to relieve whatever little farmland or hunting land we might have from whatever things might come and hurt us.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's come up for now,
Yeah, standing orders. I suppose then we'll travel to the wild wood too.
Yeah.
From
We
the
just leave
swamp
the orders
in the
with
woods.
Ravengard, I guess.
For now, yeah.
I mean, he's the only one we can really leave them with, but so.
Let's go to meet friendly Ajax, shake his hand.
Yes,
He's an
your
important guy, like a presidential candidate, basically.
yes, your dice expenditure actually begins right here, as the best way for you to put word in, for a possible meeting is to leave it with a few of the druids who are still here in the Newport area, and that can be done. And sure enough, word will be sent and conveyed that Envoy Ajax will meet with you. And you'll be given some semblance of direction as you folks head from Newport down the same road as if you would normally take into the Bitter Meadow Caverns, southeast towards the Wild Wood. It's a wonderfully pleasant trip, and by wonderfully pleasant, I mean it's fucking cold. Then again, considering how you folks dealt with the Fangs, it's not as bad as the Fangs. Still abysmally cold, and
not as bad
food
as
is
Moonwreck.
certainly at a premium, but it's not as bad as Moonwreck, and it's not as bad as the Fangs.
Yes,
Or
comparatively.
Jetless Folly. It's not as bad as that either.
Yes, so comparatively, you guys have been in worse
pretty
locations.
good.
Yes.
Ground is flat, and there's not, death everywhere. Yeah.
Yes. And eventually you folks do end up arriving at the outskirts where the countryside breaks away to the looming trees of the Wild Wood, so infused with eldritch power because of the very strong High Druid. And you are warned that with all of the druids who are answering to the summons, flocking to the Wild Wood, the Wild Wood itself is also showing evidence of this increased strength and power. The very trees themselves radiating with energy. It is with that moment in mind that normally you folks, as you're wandering here into the Wild Wood, might get lost. But you have Aranas with you. And this is a curiosity, Aranas, which you've not heard about the Wild Wood. Then again, you can't really say you've been in this area before. The forest here seems to currently exhibit properties that Aranas is familiar with in the Queenswood. Similarly, places being a relative term. The forest also seems to be moving and shifting itself. Perhaps a consequence of the magical vortex of so much druidic power fluctuating into the Wild Wood. Courtesy of Aranas being familiar with navigating in an environment that seems to be spinning with no concept of spatial awareness, the group does not get lost.
That's pretty cool.
It is
we just need to know where we want to go and be dead determined to go there. And then, yeah.
Yes, but it is an oddity for sure, where the never-ending sense of, haven't we been here before? Aren't these our tracks? And Aranas no, it's just it's a magical thing. Yeah.
We are going around the same tree, but we're getting somewhere.
Well, right.
You say
He will
so.
actually be very curious and ask if the others have heard that this is how this forest works, because he did not know that anything outside the court had that amount of magical power gathered in it for the forest to come alive in that way, as they did in the ages of old elven imperial nations.
I know nothing about this place.
This was, pre-war magical power. This is a significant indicator of what sort of magic the druids have gathered.
Okay. Like that.
I suppose it also makes it very quick to travel to a place that you can't ever find unless you know where you want to go to.
Yes. This area is in particular unsettling for Geráck. It almost seems as if he can't shake that ever-present feeling of being observed.
The High Druid is an elf.
It's true. I think she's actually half-elf. I can't remember exactly what the book says.
I know she's the queen's sister.
Yes, there is that much.
That's the important part.
You do eventually end up approaching a large grove, the tree line parting after several days, which has quite a collection of individuals, an audience of sorts, perhaps gathered to observe the proceedings of this illustrious audience of various wonderful critters who live here in the wildwood and play, along with elementals who, of course, are friends of the High Druid rather than horrid servitors of other icons. Druidic envoys, as well as a singular individual who stands in the middle of the semicircle, radiating with power and incredible comfort. A man with whom two of you have only seen briefly. With a stripe of gray running through the middle of his hair, along with his mustache, draped in some minor ornamentation, but for the most part, seems to stick to that wonderful druidic feeling of not much in the way of trappings. Sheep, I want you to roll a d20 for me, please.
Okay. Oh god.
He attacks us.
Okay. No, that's not true. I will go ahead and announce this out loud, if only because it'll be easier than just typing this, because I had not had this prepared. Sheep, the presence that's within Aurelia's head immediately demands that Aurelia be at the utmost cooperative and even obsequious towards this man, because of how useful he can be, reminding that it is in part Aurelia's fault that the intellect assassin has escaped and caused so much harm to the Archmage's reputation. With that failure of 4, Aurelia is being compelled here to do her best to play nice with Ajax. With fighting only as a last resort.
The what?
The thing that's in her head.
Don't
I
worry
won't
about
ask.
it.
Just so
it's
another
a
intellective
thing.
hour then.
Yeah. Regardless. Just so I can know sort of how Aranas feels in this area, how different is this compared to the Queenswood, which is, after all, pretty structured in sort of the 3 layering of our cities and such. Very tall trees, sort of.
The trees here do seem to not be structured at all, growing more chaotically and haphazardly, perhaps through the pure infusion of druidic magic. After all, this is where the High Druid has made her home, since she rose to her position of being High Druid. And but with all of the influx of druidic power, there are some aberrant sights, like trees which normally wouldn't have these growths in winter of sprouting leaves and even flowers. Such is the powerful concentration of magic here. Because your character is capable of casting magic, it does feel like an almost overwhelming presence of just this maddening swirl of the entire forest being alive.
That is impressive. He'll try to be as respectful of these places as possible, knowing that people would get mad if he.
Considering his familiarity, this likely is just a feature of hundreds of druids and dire creatures and pixies and whatever, all of the creatures of the woodlands gathering here in this one region.
He's certainly used to magical woodland creatures and magical trees.
He sure is.
I suppose it is, in a way, comforting, in a strange way.
Yes. It is pulsating with power that would be reminiscent of the Queen's Wood, albeit not as structured as the numerous areas of the court.
That says quite a lot.
The booming voice of the druid standing somewhat alone, but his companions that form a semicircle are watching attentively. Respectful looks at you, but they are also looks of wary gazes. Prepared if violence should appear to react. They would most certainly not be surprised unless you somehow won them over first, and then betrayed them. Welcome, welcome, envoys of the Dragon Empire. I do have some familiarity with your names. I will introduce myself. I am Ajax. I currently serve as an emissary of the High Druid, though currently I am often indisposed, what with the conclave that has been gathered. You have expended some trouble and influence to reach out to me. What could I, Ajax, do for the four of you? Without making any sort of skill check, he wears what few trappings he has, some, gold embellishments with considerable dignity, and he has an almost condescending air about him, looking down the bridge of his nose, even though some of you are just as tall, if not taller than he is, and with a quirk to his lips as if he's in on some joke that you'll never know.
No. It's an elf that certainly is not nothing new either.
It most certainly is not.
The high wood. Well, Aranas probably thinking that he's one of the people most comfortable here right now. Although a little confused at the whole Imperial emissaries, but I suppose that is what we are. Mm-hmm. He will sort of step forward to look upon this druid, as he will bow and formally and sort of greet him. Say, I have not met you before, even if I have an understanding that some of my companions might have. Perhaps you may know of me, but simply name me Aranas.
The lips do curl upward and beam a bit brightly and says, "Yes, Warden, I know of you through reputation indeed. It is good to have a strong presence such as yours so far south." He gives a less condescending and more favorable look towards Aranas.
Aranas will give him a friendly smile then and say, "We have come because we have heard by people who we believe can be trusted that you would know how to find a certain." He sort of seems to think a little bit about what it was called, because he has actually encountered it. Intellect assassin, a being that eats minds and has done things and acquired dangerous artifacts that must be recovered for the safety of all.
He scowls deeply. I, of course, am assuming that you refer to the hideous monstrosity Victory at Lorges Valley, which currently has taken over the body of a somewhat respected, yet dubious dwarven wizard?
I believe that is true. He sort of looks slightly to Geráck. Not entirely sure.
Geráck nods and says, "Indeed we are."
Ajax snorts. The contempt for Dwohiram very much visible on his face, or perhaps the intellect assassin, or maybe both. He says, there is no secret of my attitude towards that dwarf and his wretched campaign. That being said, I would have preferred even he exist over the abomination that has taken over his mind. It is severely unfortunate that such a situation has come about. I had thought that the Archmage would take better care of one of his own. My understanding is that the creature has used his good standing within the Empire to devastate it and eat it from within.
Aranas gives him a slight bow of the head again, conceding that is likely true. Say, and that is why it is important, I believe, to eradicate this abomination, as you call it, as soon as possible. Which is why we have come seeking your aid.
While the creature is of no immediate threat to me, it is a personal vendetta I do have against such horrid abominations that consume the minds of others. And there's no need for a skill check here. This is genuine abhorrence and loathing of this victory at Lorges Valley. With that in mind, I will share what I know. The creature you are currently seeking, from my knowledge, is plotting within Dragonhall itself, enjoying his victory after slaying the very wise and respected Thero the Ever-Living, thus bringing an end to the entire Sylvan Grove and the druidic presence within Dragonhall. My understanding is that he plans on using his horrid artifact, somehow preserved through all these ages, another Imperial oversight, I assure you, to plot even greater things. For that matter, I would actually suggest you consult the Great Silver Worm in Dragonhall. I think the next plot focuses on her. Tell me, Imperials, the compact that the Great Silver Worm embodies is what keeps that blue Mistress of Sorcery in check, no? I can't imagine what could possibly happen to the Empire were the contract to dissolve.
Jonas frowns and looks to Jasmine, not really being an Imperial citizen.
It wouldn't be good anyway.
It most certainly would not.
Certainly Jasmine would know this, with her immense connection and her intense dislike of the three. The Great Silver Worm is she either seals or embodies the deal between the Blue and the Emperor. As long as she remains in her tower, the balance holds. If she ever chose to leave, or if some calamity befell her, all bets are off. It could either mean unfettered rule by the Blue, and a war with the Empire, or the beginning of another of the city's periodic collapses.
It would certainly be not in our favour for this to happen. The silver does embody everything to do with keeping the Blues' influence in check.
The Druids would have acted against the abomination itself, but it very quickly and an unprovoked attack against Thero the Ever-Living. And while I disagreed with some of his stances, he was nevertheless a respected member of our community, and the complete dissolution of the entire grove, where so many of, and he does a sweeping hand gesture behind him, of companions and friends of nature, who have aided the civilized folk over the ages, lived. They're all dead now, fallen apart into ash because of this sword of ruin. What ruin has it brought?
Perhaps we might be able to avenge them. We will try at least.
I would offer to send you there myself, but what with what's transpired, there is no access portal I could make which would be able to transport you there. What with the Sylvan Grove's ultimate fate. I can certainly say, however, that bringing an end to that abomination would go far with many of nature's allies for what it has done.
So, says, then I see no reason why we should not be allies in this. We shall, we will take whatever advice you can give, and then we will go and seek out this being.
The creature victory at Lorges Valley has made a near unique connection with the former wizard who once controlled his own body. Typically, the abominations eat the entire brain, and thus lose access to any of that host's powers. Like if it ate a brain of a dragon, it could no longer use its breath. But perhaps once an age or so, I'm not too familiar with the specifics. The creature, rather than eating the entire brain, fuses with it instead. He looks over to Aurelia and then shifts his eyes towards Geráck. I would expect that Victory at Lorges Valley would know all too well what tactics to use against you, and I would expect to see the same power he so carelessly deployed on his enemies to be used against you as well. Whatever you might know about him could be a valid use. Prepare carefully.
Aurelia nods respectfully at that piece of advice and says, if he employs the same powers that Rohirrim wielded, then we too know at least somewhat what to expect.
Victory at Lorges Valley, from my understanding, has lived for 7 ages. I would most certainly appreciate it if he didn't make it to an 8th.
I will enjoy destroying that creature who has desecrated a friend's body. I will even try to enjoy it enough for the both of us, since you will unlikely be there when it happens.
Ajax will favor Aurelia with a less than condescending look and a slight nod of the head.
I remember the last time we faced him, although we didn't know that this was actually an intellect of ours then. And the bearer's head exploded and he escaped. Is there any way we can circumvent this from happening?
Ajax rubs his beard, and will give you a warning that I will exhibit in mechanical terms. The forgetting effect that happens when an intellect assassin explodes from the mind targets everyone who's nearby. If you're sufficient distance away, you cannot be a valid target for forgetting that the intellect assassin was even there.
All right, but it will still be able to escape, right? Or
if at least
I
one
don't
of
know how
you,
it works.
at least one of you is keep track of it, then it won't escape with a battle end.
Okay.
If at least one of you knows that it's there, then it can't just go and vanish.
All right.
Can that person be like, look, it's there?
Pretty much, yes. It would have invisibility basically for an entire turn, or unless it made another attack action against you folks, except from the people who still know it's there. And after a round, if it's still near you, then you all go, hey!
So don't cluster too much up.
Oh.
Yes.
At a plus 14 against mental defense or something.
Yeah. If we knock the bear unconscious, though, can we bring it somewhere? Would it still explode and escape?
Ajax would note that such would be highly dangerous, but possibly you could concuss the host enough to even concuss the intellect devourer within. But Ajax does not recommend taking that approach.
Alright.
It seems, well, if they're small enough to crawl into people's heads, then that ability might also crawl out from whatever we could put it in. And I see little reason why we want to preserve such a monster. It will surely not tell us anything except for whatever it.
No,
needed
it
to
would
get
simply
out.
be a case of if we were to bunched up,
But
we could basically knock it unconscious and then move out.
but if we did trap it, we could prolong its suffering.
The presence within Aurelia's mind will indicate that normally it would advocate preserving and interrogating, perhaps making use out of this thing for information, but after everything it's done through Dwohiram, vengeance is what Horizon prefers. If you want to prolong its suffering, Horizon would not be opposed.
Aurelia shrugs at the presence in her head, as weird as that might look.
Look at her, she's like, well, no.
I guess we know where we need to head then.
Seems so, yes.
And in any place we should start in Dragonhall other than
Yes,
talking
that's
to
right.
the Silver.
Ajax doesn't have any possible suggestion. Perhaps you can contact someone who actually knows more about what's currently happening in Dragonhall. There's probably some Archmage people. You know, there used to be Druidic people there too, but then the entire Sylvan Grove was destroyed.
I literally know no Archmage people.
Neither do I.
So we could go to the Queenswood. Maybe the border guards would have some news of what's going on there. Maybe even approaching the city from the north would be easier than going through the harbor.
It would take much longer though.
Horizon pipes up in Aurelia's mind. Teleportation! Go to Horizon!
Well, we just need to go to Horizon and get teleported by friendly mages that are all over Horizon.
Just last time we were in Horizon, it took you months just to speak to someone.
That is definitely an
Yes.
exaggeration. It did not take months.
Well, since then I've acquired an easier way to speak to people in Horizon.
Well, what would be the point really of getting teleported from Horizon?
We could get in without having to go through any border guard there might be. Undiscovered, so to speak.
We went in sort of undiscovered last time we went to Dragonhall.
I did not know you had been in Dragonhall.
Neither did I.
And if you have a way to enter the city safe and undiscovered from enemies,
we can
rather
take
sure
a
we
rowboat
have.
and row
I'm,
into the city undetected.
The seas are
no.
dangerous enough with the icebergs. We do not need to sail there and risk more.
regardless, I'm sure the good man Ajax has much to
Oh.
do, as many others of the land, I should say. Should we warn him about the whole undead affair? I mean, it seems like he's an important person. Just as a courtesy, he might be like, whatever, but
Sure, we can tell him.
Aranas will and says, then I think we shall take our leave. There is much to do and far to travel, after all. The sooner we get this done, the better. As we leave, however, I will bring you a warning in return for your well given aid in this matter. We have recently been north to Moonwreck, where we have discovered that the grave of the great white dragon that was slain in the First Age, a follower and friend of the Wizard King, has been removed from its tomb, and the ward that once held it there has been broken. This was done by ice giants, and the dead of exhuming this corpse. They have taken it on sailing icebergs to Necropolis, where it is currently resting, presumably to be brought back in a dead form. This is what we believe has been causing this increasing winter. If you have a way to confirm this information, it will be worth looking into.
Ajax, his haughty look upon his face, dissipates, and he gets a dangerous glint in his eyes, as like the light shining through the wildwood just so, as he eyes and stares at Aranas. And he says, "We, druids, who are so intimately familiar with nature that we can detect such interferences, are aware that there are reasons for this abominable winter. That is in part what we are discussing. Though the full specifics of your notes are not known, the gist is still all too well."
Again, it's simple information. He can do with it what he wishes. I suppose we take our leave.
Okay. You are not troubled by leaving. No dire wolves or like pixies come after you and force you down and say, "I'm a fucking paladin! Ah! Hammer of Faith, the tree!"
Wouldn't be able to do that. I already spent it.
That's right. You have already spent it. It does
Basically
take.
heal the ground or something.
Yes, it does take a few days. Your trip out is much quicker than it was to get in. You are able to exit the Wildwood without incident and return back to the borders of Imperial territory,
Alright.
where Manaki has said burb lol.
So I guess we head straight back to Newport then.
Alright.
God damn it, Rohirrim!
Folks can head straight back to Newport.
We still have the Red Gauntlet Company?
I accidentally moved them. No, you don't.
I didn't think so.
You do not.
I know they would love more wealth.
They would certainly love you to pay them even more.
Yeah, no.
Who doesn't like money? Money. I
If
shall
they're
also
more-
move the Glitterhagen card. You should get back over there too.
No, Glitterhagen, you're staying.
The objectives are so close now.
Yes, you can almost taste them. Alright, so what do you want to do with these yonder kids? These
What's
these
the
groups.
situation when we get back? Are they just staying here, or?
Like, what do you
Well,
want to do?
our idea before was, of course, to send the Dwarven Paladins to reinforce down here, and then send the mages and both ships to help the Cape Thunder situation.
Alright.
Yeah.
Ulysses can lead his company down to Kavanaugh. And the two warships with Lord Inator, who looks oh so fucking thrilled to be on a boat for even longer in this wretched cold. And go establish safer naval trading lanes to Cape Thunder.
A boat shall be his new office.
No, he needs to shut up. We've spent months trudging through a wintry swamp while he was on a luxurious boat.
Nothing even remotely luxurious about this boat.
Comparatively luxurious.
He was actually in foothold at that point, though. Just recuperating.
Even better.
He's in
So he was
resting
in a
in
war
town.
house.
Helping
You rested-
peasants here, helping peasants there. Oh, I love helping the common folk. They're
At
always
least you
so
get some variety.
appreciative. I remember back just 2 years ago when I was just a simple mage, repairing wards in the region. Those were the days. Food was
At least you
there,
get some variety.
so were the winches. Variety sucks.
It does.
Yes. Some
I would
say
like
it's
a
the
vari-
spice
I
of
would like
life. Those people are stupid and dead.
I would like a variety over this. Gestures to the snow.
It's ever present. You think sending me into the Koru Straits is going to make it go away? No, it won't. Looks like it's
But it-
hardtack for me. Yeah.
It will make life easier for all of us. Stop complaining.
Nothing easy about being here.
So what
Alright.
are we?
That's very
We're arguing
good,
with
eh?
editor about peasants.
He's definitely not an argument. He's just
Aranas
not
falls
too.
back into his stupid.
Yep, he's just not too thrilled about being sent along with the warships to go establish safer
Oh.
naval
You know,
trading
you can
lanes.
walk if you want to, but that's not going to make it easier.
Well, what would he like to do? Just hang around in the peasant Newport?
Repairing
Nice.
wards.
Yeah, if you know, that was a good life.
Repairing wards? I mean, if there's still some to be repaired.
You're lucky he likes the Empire. That's all he's got to say.
He could be at the beaches,
fucking
Nowhere.
taking orders from these norms.
go down here and live by the Lost River in the Red Waste, where maybe it's not so cold.
Fine, he'll fucking go to Koru straight hell.
Yeah.
Along with
And he
these
would
two
like us.
warships.
Helping secure the Cape Thunder trade route so they can get all of the food we don't have sent
Should we,
there.
should we also go with the warships though to like to Dragonhall or?
Like,
As
my
a-
character's never really
something.
been in Dragonhall, but he would generally prefer anything that's not going from the water. Like,
Maybe-
for example, go maybe to,
I mean,
Wake
just did
Islands?
a
I don't really
rowboat
know anything
that,
about that,
like,
but then
go
going here.
ashore here somewhere.
and then we're in here, and this is good. This is good land. Like, there's maybe like dragons and stuff, but we can be safe there. My
Sure,
cousin
but-
lives there. He'll greet us with feasts.